Every night for 5 years. He cleaned, then she discovered a hidden truth that changed everything. Tom's hands scraped across the cold, tiled floor of the empty classroom, pushing away layers of dust and forgotten hopes. The fluorescent lights flickered above him, illuminating a life spent in the shadows. For 5 years, he had diligently scrubbed lecture halls and mopped up after students who hardly ever noticed him. Year after year, he silently kept the community college clean and safe, all while feeling like a ghost in his own life. Every sweep of his mop echoed his lingering heartache for his estranged daughter, Lily, who lived only a few blocks away. He imagined what it would be like to walk into her life again, to hold her tight, and tell her he hadn't stopped working for her future. The promise of the American dream fueled him, each bucket of soapy water carrying the weight of his longings. Meanwhile, Lily, a bright 16-year-old, roamed the halls of high school grappling with her own unrest. She felt the scars of abandonment every time her classmates shared stories about their fathers. She wore a mask of indifference, brushing off her emotional turmoil as if it were nothing more than an annoying itch. On the outside, she seemed just like any other teenager, but deep inside, she longed for the father she'd never really known. Night after night, as Tom washed away the remnants of others' lives, Lily pressed her face against her bedroom wall, feeling lost and misunderstood. One evening, as Tom wiped down desks in an empty classroom, he overheard a group of students discussing their aspirations. "I want to start a nonprofit," one girl said eagerly. "I'm going to be a doctor," another exclaimed. Tom's chest tightened, suffused with both pride and sorrow. They were dreaming big, igniting that flicker of hope within him that somehow his hard work contributed to their futures, even if he remained invisible. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Meanwhile, Lily was off on her own journey, researching local heroes for a class project. She sorted through dusty archives, finding stories of greatness untouched by time. But instead of focusing on the famous names, she dug deeper, choosing instead to honor those who worked behind the scenes. As she flipped through a community college brochure, her breath caught in her throat. There was a smiling man in a blue janitor's uniform who looked just like the father she barely knew. Tom, the caption read, praising him for his exemplary dedication. A storm of emotions swirled in her chest. How had she never recognized her father in this way? The man who mopped floors and emptied trash was also a local hero in her community. Torn between anger and admiration, she faced a pivotal moment. Would she confront him with her sorrow, unearthing a truth long buried? Or would she continue to wallow in the shadow of resentment? The day of her presentation approached, and one fateful afternoon, Lily found herself walking the familiar grounds of the community college, seeking him. Her heart raced as she locked eyes with Tom, their worlds colliding in the most unexpected place. Just then, he flashed a faint, weary smile, full of warmth but ridden with uncertainty. Would this be where their stories intertwined? The air buzzed between them, thick with unanswered questions and unhealed wounds. All that remained now was the leap into the tumultuous waters of forgiveness. Would she break the silence? Or would this moment slip away, leaving them both searching for what could have been forever lost? Lily's heart pounded in her chest as she crossed the expanse of the community college courtyard. The weight of her research pressed down on her shoulders. The discovery of her father's hard work and unnoticed contributions was a revelation, yet it felt like a double-edged sword. She could almost hear the invisible strings of fate pulling her closer to Tom, one step at a time. As she approached him, memories of childhood flickered like scenes from an old movie. The laughter, the hugs, and then the emptiness. She felt a mixture of excitement and dread. What would she even say? Her mind raced, running through possible conversations, but nothing felt right. Tom looked up, his smile faltering as he recognized her. The moment stretched, laden with all the words that had gone unsaid over the years. "Lily?" He finally breathed, his voice barely above a whisper. The sound of her name on his tongue sent a shockwave through her. There was something undeniably fatherly in that one word, a soothing balm for her old wounds. Yet it made the unsaid things even heavier. She nodded, hoping she looked more confident than she felt. "Can we talk?" she asked, her voice trembling slightly. His expression shifted from surprise to concern. "Of course." He gestured toward a nearby bench, his janitor's uniform stark against the vivid backdrop of green trees and painted murals that decorated the campus. They sat, an uncomfortable gap of silence stretching between them, almost palpable in the warm air. He shifted slightly, glancing away momentarily. "I didn't know you were here studying." "I'm working on a project," she replied, her voice steadier now. "It's about local heroes. People who make a difference, but don't get recognized." Tom nodded, his eyes suddenly wary. "That's important work." She recalled the moment she'd seen his face in the brochure, and the swell of pride and confusion that had accompanied it. "I saw your picture, Dad." "I had no idea." His eyes widened, a flash of raw emotion crossing his face. "You don't need to call me that," he started, but she pressed on. "No, I do." The insistence in her voice surprised even her. "You've worked so hard all these years. I thought you didn't take care. I thought you left me. I wanted to be there for you," he said, his voice strained. "But life, it got complicated. I thought what? That I'd be better off without you?" Lily interrupted, her anger bubbling over like a mountain stream breaking free from winter-esque grip. "It's not that simple." Tom flinched. Tears welled in his eyes. "I thought you'd hate me for not being around, so I kept my distance. I wanted to give you a better life." Lily could see it now, the conflict churning in his heart, just like hers. But she couldn't hold back the hurt that had festered through the years. "You didn't give me anything. Not being there hurt me more than being poor." The weight of her words hung in the air like a heavy fog. Tom bowed his head, fighting whatever emotions were close to the surface. "Lily, I'm so sorry," he whispered, his voice breaking. "I've wanted to reach out, but what?" She leaned in closer, feeling the energy of their connection shift. "It's been 5 years, Dad, 5 years of not knowing if you were even okay." With every word, she could feel the walls between them slowly crumbling, but the question still lingered in the back of her mind. Could they rebuild? "What happens now?" she asked quietly, searching his eyes for a glimmer of hope. Just then, the bell tower in the distance chimed, breaking the moment of tension. Tom exhaled deeply, his shoulders easing slightly. "That's up to us, isn't it?" As they looked at each other, the promise of something new began to flicker between them. Could they find their way back to one another, or would the shadows of the past keep them at bay? Both stood at the edge of a new chapter, but before they could move forward, a familiar figure appeared at the edge of the courtyard, a stranger yet familiar, holding the threads of another secret that threatened to entwine their lives further. What is she doing here? Lily thought, immediate tension forming once more in her chest. Lily's pulse quickened as she squinted at the figure approaching them. A woman in her mid-30s, with a confident stride and an aura that seemed to demand attention. Her long, dark hair swayed as she moved, and a piercing gaze locked on Lily, seeming to cut through the distance forged by years of silence. "Tom," the woman called out. "I was looking for you." Tom's body stiffened, and Lily felt her gut twist in response. This wasn't just a random encounter. There was a history in that voice. "Sarah," he said, a hint of trepidation threading through his tone. "What are you doing here?" Lily quickly pieced together what she'd heard in fragmented conversations over the years. Sarah had been part of his life after he left. The murmurings among the neighbors had painted a picture of closeness that had excluded her. Lily took a deep breath, forcing her emotions into something manageable. "Dad," she said cautiously, "who is she?" Tom's eyes flicked to Lily, a flicker of regret passing over his face. "Lily, this is Sarah. She worked with me at the community center." "Hello," Sarah said, her smile bright yet tinged with an edge. She extended her hand toward Lily, but Lily hesitated, feeling the weight of what might lay buried in this introduction. "Why are you here?" Lily asked, her irritation creeping in. Before Tom could respond, Sarah stepped forward, her eyes narrowing slightly. "I wanted to discuss a community event we're planning. Tom, I thought it might be good for you to be involved." Tom hesitated. Lily's heart dropped. It was as if Sarah had just handed him a lifeline. "You really want me to join?" he asked, his tone softer now, almost hopeful. "Of course," Sarah replied smoothly. But her gaze flicked to Lily, and the implication was clear. It felt like a power play, and all Lily could muster was anger. "Can't you see this is not the right time?" Lily interjected. "We're talking." Tom passed a look between them, a silent plea, but Lily was so consumed with her emotions that she barely registered it. "Sarah, could you give us a moment?" she asked, trying to keep the tremor from her voice. "Sure," Sarah replied, her voice silky, but the corners of her mouth tightened. "I'll be right over there." She sauntered a few steps away, but her presence loomed large, casting a shadow over this fragile moment they had just begun to share. "Lily," Tom began, but she interrupted him. Do you still talk to her? Is that why you haven't reached out?" The question flew out, raw and unfiltered, and the hurt from years past began to recoil, making way for reckless vulnerability. Tom was quiet for a long moment, the weight of revelation catching in the air between them. "It's complicated, but she's not what you think. What we had is in the past. But it's not just your past, it's our past too." She felt the heat rising, her lips trembling with anger and hurt. "You can't ask me to step into the light of your life when you've got someone shadowing it." Tom ran a hand through his hair, as if gathering his thoughts. "I don't want to hide anything from you. I promise I'll explain. Just let us not get into this right now in front of her." Lily took a shaky breath. Could she really trust him? The air felt different, charged with possibility but twisted by doubt. "Is this going to define us?" she whispered. "Will every step we take be haunted by her?" "I want to make things right with you, Lily," he replied, his voice tender, but uncertainty pooled in her stomach. "Maybe we should just step back until you figure it out." As the words left her lips, she felt the door swing shut, the gap closing just when she started to pry it open. The familiar strain of longing settled heavy on her chest. Tom's eyes flashed with pain, and it was her turn to look away, the desire to connect again battling with fear. What did Sarah represent? And could they shake off the past, or would it always lurk in the shadows? Lily glanced at Sarah, who was watching them intently. Another piece in play. Would the truth break them apart, or finally set them free? Tom's voice faded into the background as she wrestled with her thoughts, countless questions swirling through her mind. But before she could sort through it all, Sarah cleared her throat, pulling their attention back. "Ready to talk, Tom?" With the tension thick enough to slice, Lily felt the stakes rise. Would she stand by her father or retreat into her hurt, allowing the shadows to take hold again? What answer would Tom give, and what would it mean for where they could possibly go from here? Tom turned his gaze from Sarah to Lily, eyes searching for an answer. The moment felt suspended in time, a fragile web of hope and despair intertwining. "I need to handle this," he said finally, his voice strained. Lily felt the world tilt beneath her feet. A part of her wanted to scream, to cling to the anger that had built up, but another part begged her to understand, to embrace this fragile reunion. "Handle it?" She inhaled sharply, feeling a wave of protectiveness wash over her. "You mean let her dictate your choices?" It felt good to let the words out, to give voice to the resentment that had lived in her heart for so long. Tom looked pained. "Lily, it's not like that. Sarah's part of something larger. I can't just ignore her. I've spent years building this connection. But what about us? You can't just shove me aside because she's back. You have to choose." The air crackled with the intensity of their conversation, the pressure thick enough to choke on. Tom sighed, his shoulders slumping. "I'm not trying to shove you aside. It's just history. I never wanted this to turn into a confrontation." Lily's heart twisted. "But that's exactly what this is. You stepped away for years, leaving me to piece my life together alone. And now that you're back, I feel like I'm fighting for I wasn't just gone, Lily. You have to understand I was lost," he interjected, his voice raw with emotion. "I felt I failed you running into the arms of another woman. It was my escape. But I want to change that." Sarah stood off to the side, arms crossed, eyebrows raised. She was the specter hovering over them, the reminder of every abandoned promise and unhealed wound. Every thought Lily had about Tom's words was framed by Sarah's presence, and it made her sick to her stomach. "Do you even know what I've been through?" Lily's voice cracked, frustration bubbling beneath the surface. "You don't get to just waltz in and expect me to pretend that everything is okay when she's standing right there." Behind them, Sarah cleared her throat again, her patience wearing thin. "Tom, we need to discuss the event at some point. It's important." Lily turned sharply, facing Sarah with fire in her eyes. You don't get to dictate moments in his life that should be ours. Maybe you should step back. Maybe you should find a way to accept that I'm here. Sarah shot back, gaze unfazed. Tom has a life outside of this reunion. You can't just demand him to choose you when neither of you is ready. The tension sparked, electricity between all three of them, growing heavier. Tom shifted, the emotions playing across his face like a silent film. He was caught in the crossfire, and the weight of making either representation feel unimportant was evident. Let us take a breath, Tom finally said, looking at Lily and then at Sarah. I never intended for this to create conflict. Lily felt her walls rising, emotions scrambling inside her. The longing for connection hurt in the face of this unexpected rival. Tom, I just wanted to understand where you truly stand. With me. With all of this. Her heart hammered at her own vulnerability. Let me explain things to you, he said earnestly. Please, just give me a moment. As silence fell, Lily felt the ground hard beneath her, a battleground of her own feelings. Could she hand over that trust again, knowing that Sarah loomed in the background, whispering doubts? Okay, she whispered, heart pounding painfully in her chest. But you better be honest. Both of you. He nodded, gratitude lighting his eyes. But something still twisted deep inside her, a thread of doubt not yet severed. Is it possible that our past shadows could shape our future? She wondered silently. Lily, Tom began, as the words hung in the air, and she felt the invisible weight of their unresolved past. But then, without warning, Sarah interjected with an unsettling certainty that sparked fear. Do you really want to unearth what that past holds? In that moment, the question hung like a dark cloud, a harbinger of storms yet to come. Would they have the courage to face what loomed ahead, or would the ghosts of yesterday keep them forever trapped in a tangled web of regret? Tom took a deep breath, his resolve starting to crumble. We can't just sweep everything under the rug like it's nothing, he said, sincerity flooding his tone. But what if confronting it just makes everything worse? That's exactly what I'm saying, Tom, Sarah replied, her voice steady but laced with urgency. Some things are better left alone. Lily felt her heart clench. But how can we ever move forward if all we do is run from our past? She challenged, her voice rising slightly, a desperate plea echoing in the fragile air between them. I need to know the truth, Tom. Now more than ever. Tom's eyes darted from Lily to Sarah, caught in the void of uncertainty. He looked at Sarah first, an unspoken agreement flickering between them, and then back to Lily, as if searching for the right words. There are things I never told you, Lily. Things from before everything happened. Like what? Her pulse quickened. Each word felt like a step deeper into a territory laden with landmines. Things about why I left, he finally admitted, the confession hanging heavily in the air. Things that I thought would protect you, but instead, they only caused more pain. Lily's breath hitched. Like what? Her heart raced, grasping at hope mixed with fear. He hesitated, guilt etched in his features. At the start, it was just work, you know how demanding it was. But then I met Sarah, and it became a way to escape everything. Sarah shifted, her expression unreadable. Tom, this isn't the time, she warned, but there was a subtle hint of fear in her eyes. It is the time, he insisted. Lily deserves to know. Lily stood frozen, a mix of emotions flooding in. What kind of escape? She whispered, her voice barely above a breath. Tom lifted his gaze, determination rekindling. It's not about Sarah. It's about me. I was struggling with my own demons. The pressure to succeed, banking, family expectations, and then when I found myself drawn to her, it felt like freedom. Freedom? Lily couldn't help the disbelief that twisted her words. Or was it just an easy way out so you could avoid facing your problems? I know how selfish that sounds now, but I thought if I could just distract myself long enough, maybe I could find my way back. His voice cracked, and the vulnerability he showed ignited a heartbreaking empathy within Lily. Do you even realize how much I hurt during that time? She pressed, but her tone softened. How lost I felt. Tom nodded, looking down at the floor as guilt washed over him. I do. I can't change what I did, but I want to make things right. Does that mean choosing me? Lily asked, the vulnerability creeping back into her voice. Saying those words felt like a tightrope walk, teetering between hope and inevitable heartbreak. But before Tom could respond, Sarah stepped forward. And what about me, Tom? You can't just erase our connection because of guilt. We have real ties, things you can't ignore. Lily clenched her jaw, the tightness in her chest overwhelming. Real ties? Like a band-aid over a wound? This is not just about feelings. This is about truth. Tom's eyes flicked between them, his heart heavy with the weight of their entangled emotions. I don't want to hurt anyone, but I also don't want to live a lie. A silence fell, thick and suffocating, each second stretching into what felt like hours. Lily felt a wild mix of hope and rage. Would there ever be a chance for clarity, or was this just another painful twist in their ongoing saga? The air was charged, every heartbeat echoing their unease. Finally, Sarah spoke, voice low but resolute. Then maybe it's time to face the truth of all our relationships together? Everything that happened led us here. We can't turn back. As the weight of her words drifted through the atmosphere, Lily felt a chill run down her spine. Did they have the strength to peel back the layers and expose the raw truths that had shaped their lives? Tom turned to Lily, his expression desperate. I want to be honest, but I need you to be ready for whatever comes next. And as the storm brewed above them, Lily realized this moment wasn't just about the past, it was about unearthing the future, and the real question was, could they weather it together? Can we handle it? She whispered, her heart racing with every syllable. As her question lingered, they stood on the precipice of the unknown, a fragile thread connecting them to what lay buried in the shadows. All they could do now was take that fateful step forward, or risk losing everything. The choice lay before them, but was it possible for all three of them to find peace in the chaos? The air hung heavy with tension, the silence stretching into a thick wall between them. Tom's eyes shone with a mixture of determination and fear. He looked at Lily, her face a canvas of emotions, hope, anger, sorrow, and felt an overwhelming urge to break through the barrier that had surrounded them for so long. Lily, he began, his voice a soft plea. I need you to understand that this wasn't just about me escaping. It was also about what I could never admit, my fear of losing you, of not being enough. That fear drove me into her arms. You didn't think that facing those fears head-on would have been a better approach? Lily shot back, her heart pounding as every word ignited the tension. You chose to run away instead of fighting for what we had. I know that now, he responded, his eyes pleading for her understanding. But at the time, it felt like too much. I thought I could protect you by keeping it all in. Across the room, Sarah's expression shifted. The urgency she once had turned into a desperation to be included, to not lose what she had built with Tom. We both have our scars, she interjected quietly. But maybe confronting it all is the only way to find a way forward for all of us. That's easy for you to say. Lily shot back, her voice rising again. You weren't the one left shattered when he walked away. You got a piece of him while I was left to pick up the pieces. Whoa. Tom raised a hand, trying to pull the conversation back from the precipice. This isn't a competition on who suffered more. It's about us. Us. Lily scoffed, her voice thick with emotion. I don't even know what us means anymore. I only know the pain of betrayal and loss. Tom took a cautious step toward her, arms outstretched in a gesture of reconciliation. You can't deny that I'm trying to make amends, to show you how much you mean to me. But what about Sarah? You've got a history there too. Can you even fully give all of yourself to me? Or will you always be looking back? The bitterness in her voice smothered any flicker of hope in the room. Sarah stepped forward, her voice shaky but fierce. We all have to be honest here. I can't just walk away from what we built. Tom, I still love you. Tom's expression shifted, torn between the two women who had impacted his life in different ways. But it's not fair to either of you. I can't ask you to fight for me while I'm still sorting through my emotions. Lily's heart sank, sensing a surrender in Tom that terrified her. So where does that leave us? Are we stuck in this cycle of pain? Tom remained silent, his gaze shifting between them, and for a moment, his shoulders slumped under the weight of their collective sorrow. Maybe we need to take a step back, he suggested finally, words tasting heavy on his tongue. Give ourselves time to heal, reflect before trying to take on everything at once. No, Lily said, shaking her head. We need to confront this now. All of it. Or else, this will keep haunting us forever. Sarah looked to Tom for support, but all she found was uncertainty. What if we try a compromise? She asked tentatively. Maybe we can work through this together, each of us sharing what happened without holding anything back. Together? Lily echoed, bitterness creeping back in. How can we even begin to understand each other after what we've done? Because if we don't, we lose everything, Tom insisted, desperation creeping into his voice. We have a chance to redefine our relationships, to find a new path forward. Lily was quiet, uncertainty mingling with hope. And what if we don't like what we find? Then we figure it out, Tom replied, his voice steadying with resolve. Just like we need to figure out whether it's going to be together or apart. The moment hung, vibrating with unsaid words and unresolved conflicts. Each breath was charged with the possibility of either healing or heartbreak. With a tremor of determination, Lily finally spoke up, her voice barely above a whisper. If we decide to face this, we'll all need to drop our walls. No more secrets. Can we agree to that? As the challenge spilled into the air, the three looked at one another, knowing they stood at the crossroads of what could either shatter or save them. Were they truly ready to strip away the masks they had worn for so long? The answer remained tangled in the threads of their hearts, but the urgency to unravel it was undeniable. And in that charged moment, the weight of their intertwined fates hung heavier than ever, as they faced an uncertain dawn together. What truths awaited them was still a mystery, but beneath it all, a flicker of hope began to emerge. Could they truly be the architects of their own redemption? Tom took a deep breath, the silence so thick he could almost taste it. Each pair of eyes burned with unspoken fears and untold stories, creating an atmosphere that felt electric and suffocating all at once. He knew this was at the moment they had to share everything, the good and the messy, if there was even a sliver of hope left for them. All right, he said, his voice steady. Let us do this. Let us peel back the layers, starting with me. I owe you both that much. He focused on Lily, feeling the weight of her gaze. It was fierce yet flickering with anguish. What do you mean? She demanded, crossing her arms tightly in front of her chest, as if physically protecting herself from the raw honesty about to flow. I mean, I've avoided this for too long. Maybe I thought that by running from my feelings or pretending they didn't exist, I could protect you. But I can't keep living that way. Tom looked down for a moment, gathering his thoughts, then met her eyes again, hoping she could see his sincerity. I was scared. Scared of the distance growing between us. Scared that you would see how broken I really am. The words hung there, and the silence that followed felt like an eternity. Sarah's expression softened slightly as she absorbed his confession. We all have things we're afraid of, Tom. But not talking about them, it only builds more walls, she said gently, the fierceness of her earlier bravado melting into compassion. I know, Tom nodded, then turned back to Lily, whose expression remained a blend of hurt and curiosity. Lily, I messed up. All those times I ran away or pushed you out, I realize now it was my own fear. Fear of being vulnerable, of not being the person you deserved. Lily shifted her weight, struggling with the revelation. I guess I thought you didn't love me enough that you didn't want to fight for us. Her voice cracked, and the hurt behind her statement stung painfully in the air. Lily, it was never about that. I've always loved you maybe too deeply. I was trying to spare you the pain I thought I was causing. But in the end, I ended up inflicting even worse pain by leaving. I should have trusted that you could handle the truth, even if it hurt. As he spoke, a glimmer of something shifted in Lily's eyes. Was it understanding? Or hope? Whatever it was flickered momentarily, revealing the smallest crack in her battered heart. If we're doing this, she hesitated, her voice barely above a whisper, then nothing should be off the table. Even the moments I had to cope by pretending I was fine while I fell apart inside. Tom nodded, feeling the weight of her honesty. Exactly. We need it all out there. No more hiding, no more pretending. Sarah cleared her throat, her expression serious now. Then what about me? I just stood by and let this happen. I didn't know how to handle my feelings either. I love you both, but I can't keep being someone's secret. At that, a murmur of disbelief escaped from Lily. You mean to tell me you thought this was just about you and Tom? I see now how much you were hurt too. The truth rang in her voice. It was an acknowledgement laced with mutual pain. Tom looked between them, pulling a breath deep from his lungs. Every scar tells a story, and we're all bleeding from something. We shouldn't be afraid to share it. Then what are we waiting for? Lily spoke up, determination rekindled beneath the sorrow that still clouded their hearts. Let us figure this out together. We all deserve to be honest. Together, Sarah agreed, cautiously smiling through the tears. But as they each began to share their truths, the door creaked open, unleashing a flood of past regrets and hidden sorrows. Each revelation stirred something deeper, and the mounting tension threatened to unravel the fragile threads holding them together. They felt raw, stripped bare, and vulnerable, and yet, somewhere in that vulnerability, there was a flicker of hope. Just as the confessions began to weave them closer, Tom's phone buzzed on the table, pulling them out of their moment. He picked it up, his heart dropping as he read the notification. "Hey, message from an unrecognized number." "Tom, who is it?" Lily asked, sensing the sudden change in his demeanor. As he opened the message, it read, "You should know the truth about Sarah. It's not what you think." His heart raced, nerves singing like a taut wire. What now? What truth could possibly change everything once again? The air must have seemed heavy, as they all held their breath, still digesting what had just started to emerge, but now faced another unknown that loomed before them. Would this be a revelation or another crack in the facade? Tom stared at the screen, his heart pounding in his chest. What does that even mean? He muttered, still trying to process the unexpected twist in their vulnerability. What did it say? Lily leaned closer, her eyes wide with a mix of concern and confusion. "It's a message about you." Sarah. Tom's voice trailed off, thickening with uncertainty. The playful honesty they had just shared felt tainted now, like a drop of ink staining the purity of their moment. Lily's expression darkened. What could they possibly know? "I haven't done anything wrong." "Maybe it's a prank," Sarah suggested nervously, her voice shaky. But even she didn't sound convinced. Tom shook his head, feeling the tension crunch around them. "What if it's not? What if someone really knows something? Do you think it could be someone from your past?" Lily asked, pointing at Sarah. There was a note of accusation in her tone, one that made Sarah recoil. "No," Sarah replied, nearly falling back on her chair, her face pale as the fear rushed in. "I promise. I've stayed so far from drama." Her voice broke slightly, but Tom could see a flash of anger rising too, a tide she controlled with great effort. "Maybe we should just confront this," Tom suggested hesitantly. It felt dangerous to open this door, but their raw honesty had just started to heal wounds, and now it threatened to rip them all apart again. "What do you mean?" Sarah asked, her blue eyes narrowing as she tried to gauge Tom's intent. "Let us call the number back. Find out who it is," he replied with determination. "Are you crazy?" Lily said, her voice sharp. "What if it's someone trying to hurt us?" Tom shrugged. "Or it could be someone spilling the truth we need to hear. Right now, we have so many lies lurking in the shadows. Maybe it's time we faced whatever's out there." But what if? Sarah hesitated, her brow furrowing. "What if this person isn't just looking to share information? What if they're trying to tear us apart again?" Tom could feel the anxiety swirling. He understood that fear too well, but it seemed that the truth had crept in like an unwanted guest, and confronting it seemed the only way to keep their growing bond from shattering completely. Lily's arms were crossed tighter across her chest, and Tom could almost see the battle within her. "No," she finally said, a surge of defiance rising in her voice. "We're only just starting to trust. I want to let someone else dictate our story. But what if they bring something to light that we need to know?" Tom pressed, his voice steady but beseeching. "We're already tangled in so much hurt. If there's a truth that could help us untangle this, shouldn't we be brave enough to pull at that thread?" A silence settled upon them, heavy and layered like a thick fog, each of them caught in their own chaotic thoughts. "Look, we could ignore it," Sarah offered finally, glancing back at Tom, her expression torn. "But the longer we wait, the more power it holds over us. If it's true, then we should hear it together." Tom felt a spark of hope. "Then let us face it. Let us confront this as a team. Whatever it is, it won't beat us if we stand united." "Okay," Lily relented, slowly uncrossing her arms as her eyes flickered with the adrenaline of fear and determination. "But we need to do this cautiously. No more secrets. Just honesty." "Absolutely," Tom agreed. "Fine." Sarah nodded, her voice firm yet trembling. "But we're doing this together, no matter how painful this truth might be." As Tom reached for his phone again, ready to dial, a knot twisted in his stomach. He knew that with every number he pressed, the old wounds had the potential to burst open. But somehow, it felt right to take this step. The moment hung, cutting through the stale air. He pressed the call button, the sound ringing sharply in their fragile space. Each chime echoed his trepidation. The call connected, and the truth began to blur as the voice from the other end spoke. each word sending chills down his spine. Hello? I've been waiting for your call. Tom, what had he just unleashed, and what were they stepping into? The fear of what lay on the other side tugged at them all. Would the truth pull them apart or bind them together? Who is this? Tom's voice trembled slightly, cutting through the noise of uncertainty that enveloped them. Let us just say I know more about Sarah than you think, the voice replied, smooth yet laced with a chilling undertone. Lily's grip on Tom's arm tightened, her breath hitching in her throat. Sarah's eyes darted between Tom and the phone, and a sense of dread pooled in the pit of her stomach. Who are you? Tom repeated, trying to inject authority into his words, but the crack in his voice betrayed him. Your friend seems to think she's left the past behind. But some secrets are like shadows. They linger. Tom swallowed hard and glanced at Sarah, whose expression was a mixture of confusion and horror. Wait, Sarah interrupted, her voice trembling but firm. What past are you talking about? I don't know you. The voice on the line laughed, a sound that sent shivers crawling up Tom's spine. Oh, but Sarah, you could hardly forget. You just haven't had to face it yet. At least not until now. Enough, Lily snapped, stepping forward as if she could reach through the phone and snatch the words out of the air. Stop playing games. This is more than just a prank. Who do you think you are? Let us just say I'm someone with a front row seat to your little drama. And I have some information that could change everything for all of you, the voice said smoothly, each word dripping with tantalizing danger. Tom felt the knot in his stomach tighten. The stakes were rising, and his pulse raced with the possibility of what this person might reveal. What do you want? He asked, struggling to keep his voice steady. I want you to listen. All I need is one meeting. If you care about your friend, the voice paused, then whispered softly, you'll want to hear what I know. Come alone. We won't be doing anything alone, Lily said quickly, shifting closer to Sarah, who now looked pale and fragile. We stick together, right, Tom? Together, Tom echoed, but a dark worry flickered in his mind. Then prepare yourselves for the ride. I'll be in touch, the voice concluded, and just like that, the call ended, leaving an eerie silence that pressed down on them like a weight. Tom dropped the phone onto the table, withdrawing slightly as if he had touched something scalding. The walls felt like they were closing in. What the hell was that? Sarah whispered, her voice shaky. I don't know, Tom admitted, his mind racing. But they seem to think we're all part of something bigger, like a game. What could they possibly know? What if this person is just trying to scare us? Lily suggested, her voice slightly steadier now that the immediate shock had worn off. Or what if they're telling the truth? Tom countered, his heart heavy. Sitting here, thinking it's just a prank, we could be missing something important. Sarah shook her head, but there was a glint of despair in her eyes. I don't want to go digging into a past that's behind me. What if it only causes more harm? Can we afford to do nothing? Tom asked, frustration creeping into his voice. What if this weighs on you forever? As silence settled again, the air around them felt charged with unspoken fears. Each was wrestling with their own thoughts about what the future might hold. Suddenly, Sarah took a deep breath. I need to know who this is what they want. But I can't do this alone. I'm scared. Then we face it together, Tom said, and the determination in his heart started to rekindle a small flame of hope. We'll figure this out. We can't let our fears control us. Lily nodded, though her eyes still reflected concern. I'll be there every step of the way. But as they collected themselves, a lingering question hovered in the air, echoing around them like a specter. Was confronting the unknown worth the risk of uncovering secrets that could unravel their fragile bonds? The tension in the room pulsed, each heartbeat reminding them of the challenge ahead. They had no choice but to prepare for what was coming. Let us make a plan, Tom said, the resolve in his voice steadying his friends. What awaited them may change everything, but were they ready to step into the dark together? Tom stood amidst the shadows of uncertainty, heart racing. They had grappled with secrets that hung over them like heavy clouds. But with each passing moment, it became clear this was more than any of them could face alone. They needed to unveil the truth. Okay, he said, turning to Lily and Sarah. Let us get our heads straight. We meet this person and find out what they know. Together. His voice carried the weight of their shared fear, but also a flicker of determination. Together, Lily affirmed, clenching her fists. We're done being pushed around by fear. Whatever this is, we'll face it as a team. That's how we've gotten this far. Her fiery spirit ignited a flame of hope within the fragile space they occupied. Sarah nodded slowly, a fierce resolve building within her too. Agreed. Whatever the past holds, it's nothing compared to the strength of our unity right now. The three of them spent the following hours wrestling with their emotions, processing what they uncovered, and fortifying themselves for the confrontation ahead. They agreed to keep their hearts open, leaving behind the baggage that had weighed on them for years. Tom quickly put together a group chat, and they began laying down plans, agreeing to meet at the diner where they shared laughter over greasy fries and milkshakes long before their lives had tangled together in complexity. When the night came, the air felt electric with anticipation. Tom arrived first, nerves stretching tautly as he slid into a booth. The familiar smell of grilled patties filled his senses, but tonight it felt foreign somehow. Nothing felt normal until this was settled. As they waited, each second stretched like chewing gum, sweet and yet agonizing. Finally, just as anxiety gnawed at his gut, Lily and Sarah walked through the door, both steely-eyed, each carrying an aura of unyielded strength. They slid into the booth across from him. "Are you ready?" Lily asked, her eyes focused intently on his. Her voice was steady, but it held an urgency colored by uncertainty. Tom nodded. "As ready as I'll ever be." Minutes ticked away like torturous clockwork until a figure emerged at the entrance, a silhouette lurking at the edge of the diner's neon glow. Heartbeats thundered in their ears, matching the rhythmic buzz of the fluorescent lights above. As the figure stepped into the light, a familiar face appeared, a woman with dark hair and piercing eyes, flanked by a shadow of something ominous. "Hello, Tom," she said, a sly smile creeping across her lips. "It's nice to finally meet you all." One rallying thought echoed through Tom's mind, resonating deep within his core. This was it. "Who are you?" he managed to ask, determination cracking through his trepidation. "Oh, we'll get there. But first," she said, sitting down as if she owned the space, "I think it's vital for you all to understand how deeply intertwined your lives truly are. Your secrets run deep, just like your pain. The truth is rarely as simple as it seems." With every word, dread unfurled in the pit of their stomachs, yet they each refused to wither under the weight of her presence. Collectively, they exchanged glances of determination and solidarity. Whatever lay ahead would be revealed, but it would be on their terms. "Let us clarify things," Sarah started firmly, crossing her arms and leaning forward. "You claim to know truths. Are you here to help, or just disrupt?" "Oh, I'm just here to shed some light. You see, the past never truly fades. It stays bottled inside us until we decide to confront it," she replied, her gaze piercing through to their very souls. Tom felt a knot tighten, fear flickering in his chest. "What do you know? We've been through enough turmoil already." The woman leaned back in her chair, a smirk poised on her lips. "I know about all of your struggles. The way your insecurities drove you apart, Tom. Your yearning to escape, Sarah. And you, Lily, trying so hard to piece it all together while holding on to your anger. What if I told you that your stories are more connected than you realize? What if I had evidence?" As her words washed over them, the tension crackled, enhancing the air thick with uncertainty. Tom's heart raced. "What do you mean?" Sarah's past isn't just shadows. "It's intertwined with all of yours because it holds the key to the truth you've long buried," she said pointedly. "And if you dig deep enough, it could bring healing or destruction." The baffling revelation hung heavy in the air, and for the first time that night, doubt coursed through their minds like a sinister wind. Tom felt the ancient wounds twist painfully. "What do we do?" he whispered, his voice breaking slightly. Lily drew closer to him, holding tight to his hand. "We face it head-on together. This fear that binds us ends here." As they braced themselves for what was to come, they understood in their hearts that this confrontation would take them to places they had avoided, and it would either bury them further or finally set them free. "Then let's uncover the truth, whatever it may be," Tom said, buoyed by the earnest support of Lily and Sarah. The woman chuckled softly, a sound that filled the diner with an eerie sense of finality. "Then let us begin. I promise you won't leave unchanged." Let the truth unfold, and as the secrets of their shared lives hung like a tapestry, the fight for redemption began in earnest. They would come to realize that the light of truth, however daunting, could shatter their darkest fears. Together, They would seek hope through the shadows, united by a determination to finally heal. In that moment, they stepped towards the undeniable truth, ready to rewrite the story that had kept them captive for so long. And just like that, they found courage. The road ahead would be paved with challenges, but it would also lead them toward finally reclaiming their narratives. In unity, they were ready to embrace a future without fear. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Comment your reactions and feelings about this ending. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. You need to support the channel and show your love right now. This is the moment to show your support. Don't wait not even one more second to share.